Well, welcome back, everybody, to the next edition to Spilling the Tea in Studio D. And got a really eclectic guest, I would say, this morning, because we got Tyler Tarver.
I like it.
And I don't even know where to begin with what all you do. So if you had to pin...
I think that's supposed to be meant as a compliment.
It is.
Oh, I like it.
It is, for sure.
That's
but
good.
If we had to pin, I guess, your main title, your main focus, your main job, what is that?
Oh, you're right. It is kind of wide. I would say, just helping people learn and get better.
Right.
That's kind of what I do. And, I'm on the internet a lot. I got a lot of stuff on the internet, and, I help schools and
Right.
help teachers and make resources, things like that. And I've got a wide spectrum of things I do to help people. So
Right. Now, are you still connected to a school of some sort?
Yes. So I'm still connected. It's with a college now.
Okay.
So I moved into higher ed, and so now I'm helping NLC College with some stuff and
Okay.
just doing learning and talent development stuff.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Well, I'll tell you how I first really came to know you when I was superintendent over at Fountain Lake. We were at a ball game of all places, and I think you were still at Bauxite at the time, and a couple of our students took off in a dead sprint. She goes, "Look, there's Mr. Tarver," and, like you were a rock star, and so I asked my son. I said, he said, "Oh yeah, we know that guy." I said, he's famous for all of his his math videos there on.
Yeah, he was a math teacher.
Yeah,
How many
yeah.
math teachers have we had on this?
Well,
podcast?
but
Not enough. However many you've had, it's not enough.
Well, I will say he's probably the first. He's
joking.
by far the coolest math teacher
I don't know
we've
about
had
that.
on here.
Yeah, that's a dig at me.
Hey, that's an oxymoron. Cool math teacher. I'll tell you that.
I know.
You don't see-
I know. I taught math. Well, I know.
yeah. So, but how did you get started down that vein, if you will, going online? Really and truly, you were one of the first. I really feel like the first teachers, if you will, to embrace that avenue for helping kids out.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it does feel like I was kind of early in that. It was 2007, 2008. I kind of just started teaching, and it really was out of necessity. I was teaching. I had one class at the ALE, and so I'd drive down
Right.
the road, teach, and ALE, you got one class period to teach 5 different math subjects.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like I don't want to just water down Algebra 1 for everybody. So
Right.
I recorded my geometry stuff, and then I would put that online. Well, actually, originally I put it on. Y'all remember those iPods with the
Oh
scroll
yeah,
wheel?
Oh,
yeah.
I would upload them to that because we
Right.
had those.
That's awesome.
And then I found out this website, YouTube, that I was already putting videos where I was trying to be funny, but nobody cared about that. And
Right.
and I was like, man, I'll just make a burner account, stick all my education videos on here. And that one's like over double my other account now because
Right.
people apparently want me to talk about slope-intercept formula and not like
Right.
tell
Exactly.
jokes. Yeah.
Right.
So that's how I started doing it. Just put them on YouTube in 2007 or 8, and there you go.
Yeah,
It was
and-
fun.
yeah, it's been blasting and what I will say, I guess even, some of the original content, I mean, it's still in wide
Oh,
use
yeah.
because, obviously I'm not math strong, but I think, back in the day that would have been somebody like me even, it would have made sense because number one, it is somewhat entertaining. And to me, I think, you get that, and that's what I tell people a lot of time, even in the opportunities that we get to go out and speak to, to some teachers, that kind of thing. It's a different breed of kid. Don't you agree that we're dealing with today?
Oh yeah, Gen Z it's a lot different, and the thing is they have options. Like when I was
Right.
growing up, who did I learn math from? I was learning math from a person who was chosen by a principal at the school that was closest to me. Like I had no other option,
Right.
unless you got like another kid in your class that's good.
Right.
And so now kids can almost choose their own adventure. They go online, they're like, I want
Right.
a person that looks like
Right.
this or sounds like this or does this,
Right.
or teaches this way, and they have options. And so like some of my most frequent comments on the math videos is always like, either, I like the way he taught it, like succinct, because teachers sometimes can,
Sure.
we have the rumor of wanting to hear ourselves talk,
Right,
hear
right,
ourselves
yeah.
talk. I
Yeah,
can't even talk
yeah.
correctly, and I'm saying that. And then, and then they'll also make fun of my accent. So
Yeah.
it's just good. They like to choose their own adventure. So I think that's great.
Yeah,
internet.
Yeah, it's the it's a lot of people would say the sage on the stage or the sit and get, and the way you infuse humor or even some personal type stories, and I think that's important to be able to tell kids, hey, I didn't get this the first time around, and this may be an acronym or something that helps me remember
Yep.
and pull
Yeah.
me through. And in all honesty, I mean, Candace is pretty good at that too. Back in the day,
Thanks,
she you know, she puts in the extra time to make sure kids that aren't getting it, that they get it. And so and you know, I was laughing. It's kind of come full circle for me a little bit, because Candace and I, believe it or not, we student taught together. I've said that several times on the podcast.
I don't dye my hair either.
That's right.
It looks great.
But I am starting to get a little gray.
I do dye mine gray. It's a specific color.
It's good. It's very, very classy. I like it. Very George Clooney.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But we were talking back in the fall. I have a son and a daughter-in-law that just graduated from the U of A, both engineers. And Candace, she said, "You think they could help us out?" Her and her daughter were going through a problem. I said, "Yeah, call them." I said, "I mean, they've leaned on y'all plenty of times," and so it's really neat to see that the way it happens, and the ability just to pick up a phone and maybe FaceTime or text, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And this is how dated I am, but I can remember when I first got into administration, one of the biggest battles we had was collecting cell phones. And man, I did that for about a year. So finally, I just said, this is going to be the plan, unless it's, you know, just a huge distraction. We're not going to make a deal out of it.
Yeah.
I said, because you know what? Here's the thing. It's kind of like chewing gum. When we made such a huge deal about chewing gum, that's when they stuck it on the table.
Yeah.
They're chewing gum and we don't care. Guess what? They're going to keep chewing it.
Yeah.
So, but you know, I think about that till here we are today, and we've got these teachers that have embraced them and what they can do within that class. It's just really and truly, it excites me, I guess, about the future and what the future holds. So, what are some of the other techniques? I know you do videos for kids, but I do know that, I mean, leadership's on your radar, teaching strategies on your radar. What's your favorite thing if you had to pin it down?
You know, I love looking at trends like culture. Like, so it's like, I always like to see like kind of where are we going, and then how can I like kind of sit there and wait on people to kind of get there. So I always try to figure out like, what can I do to help people in the future? And that's kind of like, I've kind of narrowed down like kind of who I am at my core. It's like, I want to help people get better. And so it's like, if I'm going to do that, I need to, you know, do things and create things in things that people need to get better at. And so like when I first started, you know, speaking at stuff, I, you know, went and did, remember TCal?
I do.
Yeah, I was like TCal like 2012. I went in and I was doing Apple, it was iTunes U.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, iTunes U is great, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Apple didn't even care about education. I'm sitting there like, nobody wanted to come. I was like, man, there's a lot of people in the Google rooms. Ain't nobody in the Apple rooms. So I started learning Google stuff. Right. And it's like, now I'm just kind of like, how do I, like, I went to Google, and then I have a ton of Google stuff that I do. But then also now it's like, you said it earlier, we're this generation of students, you know, you got Gen Z coming up to like, what, 25, and you got millennials, and then you've got, you know, Gen X and baby boomers, and you've got all these generations who are defined by different things and have these different influences on their life. And Gen Z fascinates me because it's like, more than any other generation, they don't want fake or fluff. They want like authentic and real. And so like one of my favorite things to do is, how can I help bridge like the gap between these generations? You know what I mean? And like people for years gave millennials a ton of flack, like, oh, you millennials and your skinny jeans and your participation trophies and all that. And I'm like, first off, we didn't buy participation trophies. The other generation bought them for us. So that's not our fault.
That's right.
And,
that's
and the
So now he's blaming Gen X.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm just kidding. No, and that's the thing I love, like trying to bring in like this new school, like authentic, like all the good stuff with these young generation. That's just a huge value, how they'll stand up for each other and friends, and they're so connected. Whereas we grew up in bubbles of the people who lived in our neighborhood. They're friends with people online. They watch vloggers every day that look like them, live different places, have different thoughts. So it's like their world is so much more expansive than ours was. And I love trying to bridge the gap between that, but also, you know, connection, like person face to face, like how to build a real connection and rapport with students. And so I don't know, I just that stuff gets me hype. I love a lot of it, but that one gets me hype right now.
Well, we love having you like in the summer doing all kinds of trainings. All
Thank
the
you for
teachers,
having
they love your trainings.
Yeah, they're really
set up.
nice. They're really nice.
And I mean, like, I'll follow you. I'm not on social media a ton, but you post like just little quick tips. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've like looked at it and went, oh, I didn't know it could do that.
Thank you.
I'm like, hey,
I post way too much on the internet. I put way too much content.
It helps.
It's
helps.
way too much.
I don't think there's such a thing, you know, but even, you know, I think about the workforce. I mean, I hate to say it this way, but it's almost like, the pendulum is swinging back to CTE, for K-12. But to me, that pendulum shouldn't even be swinging. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, we should be meeting kids where they're at, preparing them for college and or the workforce. I think in the back of my mind, honestly, it's always been there. But for whatever reason, it seems like in K-12, we have to identify that at certain periods in our lives and say, this is our focus. But it doesn't have to be. If we're doing things the right way, we shouldn't have to identify that. We should be saying, hey, we're preparing our kids for the world, period.
That's good.
And I think, I think about, I referenced my son and daughter-in-law. It's amazing how they approach the workforce, right? So, they go, they get assigned projects or whatever. They may or may not have to go into the office, but they're communicating with their team, via computer and working it out. And bottom line is that, these big companies are figuring it out. Hey, we don't care how you do it. We just need that end product. We need it done efficiently. We need it done cost effectively. And this whole thing, where they say, well, we need kids that can communicate, look you in the eye, that kind of stuff. I think that's still a needed skill to get you in the door in some instances. But at the end of the day, it's about that good old bottom line.
Yep.
And they don't care how you get there.
Yeah, and I think you hit a good point, because in so many different arenas, like schools always kind of catching up to like business in the world. You know what I mean? Like, because they have to be on the front or they go out of business. Schools, we kind of keep rolling, and we're a little bit behind. But that's one conversation we've been having for years. Think of this: seat time versus mastery. It's been in the conversation for over a decade.
Yeah.
Now businesses are having to say, do I care that you get the job done and do it well? Or do I care that you're sitting in front of me during the day? Like, I'm so much more productive sitting at a coffee shop with headphones on because I'm not stopping to talk to people, which I love doing, is fun, but it also makes me less productive in other areas. So it's like, if we can help figure out that balance, and I found that the greatest struggle for people is not the people at home working, it's for the bosses that are at the job or not around them.
Having to release that.
Having to release that and trust. That trust factor they don't have, because they think just sitting at your desk. Like, I remember I had a couch in my office, and I would sit at my couch, my legs are propped up on my table, like, handling a ton of things, and somebody walk in and go, "Oh, we're just relaxing." I go, "You're the one in here hanging out with me. I'm doing work, bro." Like,
perception versus reality.
Exactly. Yeah, and so what I always tell people is, like, if you tell me that you don't think I'm doing work outside of the office, what you're saying is you don't do work outside of the office.
Exactly.
Whereas I'm checking, and I'm not saying you should. There should be a good balance between home and work. But like, I do work when I need. If I see an email come through and I need to handle it, I handle it. You know what I mean? But I also know which ones to wait till tomorrow. So.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Same.
Okay. Well, and I'm kind of absolutely a pretty good mix of the old and the new. I truly love. Ronald Reagan said it best. You trust but verify along the way, but you also got to hire great people and get the heck out of the way.
Yes.
And if that means, that means knowing the folks that come through the door. When you talk to them, you hire them. What are their strengths? If that means they're independent and can knock it out, let them be independent. If they need to come in 2 or 3 days a week, know that on the front end, because some of them need that. We've seen that with COVID. We've had some that just say, "Hey, look, I cannot work at home. I need the interaction of my coworkers," and that's okay. And but we've seen others that are just cranking it out, at home, on the road, and it's kind of funny because I was thinking about that driving home the other day. It really is generational more so than anything, and but I would say this: the older folks are finally starting to realize, hey, they're getting it done, and in some instances, they're working circles around some of them.
Yeah, because they're not stopping to talk to them when they're walking down the hall. So,
that's right.
And you brought up another good point where education was in front. We talk about, like, you lead different people differently. Like, some people, they need that, like, hey, like, you just breadcrumb them and they know what to do, and they can take stuff out when they know very clearly what to do. And other people, they're very much like, just get out of my way and I'll make something, what you did plus more, I'm not wasting time doing your thing the whole time. And so you talk about individualizing learning and personalizing learning. We've been talking about that for years. And it's like, if you get to know your people and you build that rapport with your employees, instead of just being like the commander, do what I say when I say it, you can get so much more out of them. And some people need that. Some people need, like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, you stay on top of them. But other people, it's like, get out of my way and I'll impress you.
Well, this essential question hadn't changed through the years, and Candace has heard me say this a bazillion times, but I learned it when we were looking, at Fountain Lake at Going Conversion Charter. We went and looked at schools across the country, and a lot of people were just lots and lots of questions. Why not? Why would we? What if? But the biggest question was, or the first step is, going from what if to what the hell. Everybody always has they have such a struggle from going from what if to what the hell, and they're afraid of falling or failing or whatever. And it's like, I don't know who it is. Is it John Maxwell that calls it failing forward? I mean, that's one of those things that's what we did. I mean, every situation. I mean, we had wins along the way, but we also had our challenges along the way. And every time we had a challenge, we learned from it. And that's the mindset, I think, that really makes me wake up in the morning, is thinking, okay, well, that didn't work like we thought it would, but we still learn from it.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of folks that can't wrap their head around that.
Yeah, we had an acronym for FAIL, first attempt in learning.
That's right.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I was
That's
like,
good.
that,
I'm going to steal that. I'll probably give you credit for at least 2 years, and then I'm
Well,
going
it wasn't mine. I mean, we just had it in our building. I found
You
it.
said it.
Yeah.
It is you now.
I'll take it.
You
I'll
got
take it.
it.
Yeah.
That. No, I love that. Yeah, no, when I was a principal, we started a public conversion charter. And so same thing. We had waivers. It's like we had online, in person in like 2013. So it's like I always say we were doing COVID before COVID was cool.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
But we were doing it then. And it's like all the mistakes the world made, a year and a half, 2 years ago,
Right.
we made by choice. And it's like, you're right. You learn through that failure. And it's like, you have to have that mindset, but then there's just people that are wired to where it's like, they have to have it perfect before they start, but it's never perfect. And I tell people every time, like when we implement something, we start something, I was like, I think we have the best plan with the best people in place for what we want to accomplish. But as long as we have a clear goal, it's okay to swim around. It's okay to, dig our head down and swim, look up and
Right.
go, ooh, I need to go that way, and readjust. If we don't, I feel like that's a failure. If you just do what you said, because I said I was going to do it, it's not like that. Like
It is hard though, because I mean, Darren knows I'm that type A perfectionist,
Oh, yeah.
and so, but I'm aware of that, and I work to like, it's okay to fail. You got to fail, and I've failed several times over the past 26 years.
And
Same.
people like me drive her crazy because I'm an ideal guy.
I actually am jealous of that.
I can see it down the road, but I can't see the 900 potholes I'm going to step in going along the way. But I remember as we were going through that process, Maynard High School, you probably heard of it in Texas. I mean, that was the end all of charter back in the day. That Project Lead the Way was real hot.
Oh, yeah.
And we took a visit down there on the suggestion of Tom Kimbrell back when he was at, I guess he was the commissioner of education at the time. And so he had taken a trip down there, and I never will forget this. He came back and said, he addressed us at EA and said, man, he said, I just can't tell you the things going on down there. That's the way things need to be. He said, I was so excited. I woke my son up. I got back like at midnight, 1 in the morning, and he said, and he said, my son really was listening to me. He said, but this was the piercing point of that conversation. Said he looked me dead in the eye and said, well, Dad, why aren't we doing that? And he said, man, you talking about thought-provoking. And so at that time, we had to go before the Board of Education or State Board and all that. And I never will forget, we were one of probably, I don't know, I'd say at least first 10 schools that got approval. And Tom pulled me to the side. He said, I want to tell you something. He said, you got approval. He said, go make it happen. He said, don't do like I did. He said, my son, he said, he never saw the fruits of that labor. He said, get it done today. And that resonated with me. So,
That's good.
And I just, I credit people like him that had the foresight to go out and at least bring it back to us. Mm-hmm. And I tell people this again dates me a little bit, but we were sitting there talking. We had this panel of kids at the end we got to really pick their brains. And I never will forget, there was this kid, hadn't said much all day, and he finally said, he said, you see that kid right there with his head, he's got his hat on backwards and his earphones in? We're like, yeah. He goes, that doesn't matter here. He said, he can do that all day long. As long as he's learning, it doesn't matter. Yeah. And I thought, man, as simple as that is, that's an incredible point.
Oh, yeah.
We get so lost in the weeds.
Oh, yeah.
But these kids are here learning. And of course, really, at that time, academically speaking, they were having to hit higher marks than the kids in what we would consider traditional high school.
Yeah.
So.
Did you, now speaking of high school, did you graduate from Buckside?
I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, I went to high
like,
school there.
Okay, I thought so.
That was
Your
great.
mom teaches there.
Yes, she does. She's probably about to retire sometime soon, but yeah,
Aw.
she's still teaching there. So
That's awesome.
great. I only had her as a teacher in 5th grade science. It was great. Hid snakes in her desk, stuff like that. It was great. She probably didn't like it, but it was fun.
Yeah.
It
She
was
was
fun.
probably like, wait till we get home.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
So she's got to be super proud of the fact that you went in the family bit or
Yeah.
that side of the
Yeah,
business, right?
Yeah. I mean, sure. Yeah, it's she liked it. My sister, she was in education for a while too, so it's
Right.
fun because we all just care about helping people, and
Right.
we all have that similar personality where it's like,
Sure,
I'm trying to
right.
help make people better, so we love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
yeah.
She likes me, I guess, sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
sometimes,
yeah.
not all the
Yeah,
time.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's talk about your family just for a
Oh, cool.
second there. So wife, kids.
Yes, I got a wife, 3 kids, 11, 9, and 5. 5-year-old's about to start kindergarten next year.
Okay.
So.
Oh, wow.
They,
all in school, so
all
that'll be
in
good.
school,
Yeah.
school choice. We live in Bryant, school choice to Boxside. So
Gotcha.
love it.
Okay.
Hometown.
Yeah, love
yeah.
it. It's all about relationships, and I have a ton of
Sure.
friends and relationships there,
Yeah.
and the people
Right.
there are great, and I love the culture of the school, and that's like I said earlier, culture is huge
Yeah.
to me, and it's
Oh
like-
yeah.
and that's what I said. Like I think it's the perfect school for our kids, but it's not maybe the perfect school for every kid
Right.
because
Right.
some kids want a certain experience. So
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
Exactly.
great. And plus, I like that I can text or call people, and at any
Right.
time. And I hired several of the teachers, so it's kind of
Yeah.
nice. It's
Sure.
kind of nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
They know the last name.
And harass
Yeah.
Dr. Pink occasionally.
Oh yeah, Dr. Pinkerton. Yeah,
So I know you've traveled all over the place. What's been one of your favorite places?
Oh man. So I got to go to it was an academy in Boston a while back. I got to go speak to them. That was actually off of the math stuff. And so I came in and talked to their teachers about it and actually got to teach with some of the students. And it was a really unique academy for young ladies who were recouping from some stuff in high school. And it was a really cool experience to get the chance to teach them and work with them. And so I've done some
awesome.
other ones. Every state has its own vibe,
Oh
but,
yeah.
but it's, I did one last summer at a bigger school in Texas, and the people there were fantastic. And it was fun because they had in it was me and then 2 other people that are way more popular than me, and we all 3, had different, keynotes at different points. And it was very interesting to me just because I don't get to see a lot of keynotes anymore.
Right.
And so it's I see them. And I was I get to see their delivery and how they do it, and then I get to see the interaction of how what teachers respond to what, and so I don't know. It's fun because you find your niche. I use a lot of pop culture references.
Right.
I reference a lot of things, and some people are just like, "What are you?" It sounds like a different language to them.
Yeah.
And so it's I kind of know my audience now, and
Yeah.
so
Right.
it's fun. But
Right.
and just seeing other people's delivery styles, that was really exciting.
Yeah, and that's what I find a lot of times, really and truly, at the end of the day, it's really and truly, we've heard it all of our educational lives, but it really and truly comes down to relationships.
Oh yeah.
And when I say that, I mean teacher to kid, kid to kid, coach to
Yep.
kid.
Oh my gosh, yes. And so one of the things that I've been talking to a lot of people about lately is people, especially this young generation, they connect with people online. Okay. So
Right.
there's people that they watch every day that it impacts them. Whenever, I don't know, a celebrity walks on stage and hits another
Right.
celebrity, it hurts some people's feelings
Oh, it
because they
does.
feel a connection to that. They feel like
Oh, yeah.
they've never met him, but they
Yeah.
feel like that's my friend. How would he
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah.
You don't know him.
Yeah,
You know, it's
exactly.
Yeah.
You see him pretend to be other people in movies.
Right.
And so it's
Yeah.
it's crazy how we connect, especially with YouTube, because people are so much YouTube, TikTok, Instagram.
Yeah.
People are so much more open there.
They
and
are.
so it's what's interesting to me, because I said I make a bunch of content, and TikTok's
Right.
been my favorite by far. It's been my favorite platform, and I've been putting out a lot of stuff there, trying to help teachers. And it's I'll run into teachers and they'll be like, I watch your stuff, and it's they know me. They're they're
Right.
asking about my kids, because my kids
Right.
will bounce in the videos every now and then and be
Yeah.
like, hey, what's up? They'll ask about my kids. They'll talk about they know a lot more about me, and it's weird because it's for them, they've been watching me for hours or watching, and
Yeah.
for me, it's hey, we just met. I'm Tyler,
Yeah.
and I
Right.
shit. And they're
Yeah.
I know it's your username. I'm oh, cool. I know, but I always like to introduce myself because I want to
Right.
hear their
Yeah.
name and
Right.
talk to them. And so I always try to turn it to where we're talking about them, because it's they got the jump start on knowing me. But that's been really fun. And we were actually, you asked about experiences. We were on vacation in New York. My family and I walking around. I went with my son. We're at, I don't know, some little park, and we went to go get like a waffle. We're walking by, and this lady comes up and says, Are you Tyler Tarver?
Oh, that's bizarre.
Yes. She goes, I'm from Florida. I'm a teacher. I watch your stuff. You know, all this. I was like, oh, cool. How's it going? And we talked for a while, and it was great.
Right.
But it was like, that was so surreal because it's like,
that would be.
I make them in my office or in my garage, and I'm making a video, and nobody else is around. I'm just talking to my phone. And then there's other people on the other side. And so, I don't know. That's one thing that I've always been very passionate about is like, when you say like, oh, when you get in the real world, like school's the real world too. It's just a version of the real world. And the internet is the real world too. Like those are real interactions. Yeah. Those are a Zoom call. If you say something rude on a Zoom call, people get offended, just like if you say it to their face.
Absolutely.
Like, it's insane. Like it's real world.
For sure.
And so I don't know. I don't like that people delineate those. Like it's the same.
Hey, speaking of TikTok, I read an article because my daughter's always like, do not get on TikTok, which I have it. And like people send me stuff and
why does she not want you on?
Well, she's like, because you're going to get addicted.
Oh, there's 100% yes. Yeah.
Okay,
too good.
So she says, so I mean, like I've watched a couple, but I really like, I have that personality. I probably would get addicted and spend hours on it or whatever. And then I read an article the other day. It said it's like super addictive, as in like gamblers. And I mean, it's just the algorithms they're genius. It's how they've written the algorithm.
It is.
Oh yeah.
It is so like Facebook, Instagram, even YouTube, they are not focused on the user. They're focused on like, I need to get the creators happy. I need them making stuff. They need to get ads and making. Facebook only cares about getting the people that pay them money with ads happy.
Right.
TikTok only cares about the viewer.
Right.
They only care about them. And so what they do is it doesn't matter who you follow, like what you click on. Nobody goes to their following page. Everybody goes to their For You page.
Yes.
And TikTok is like, they know what you like better than you do. They don't trust. It's like they don't trust you. They know what you really like. So if you want, it was like people that get on there like, I don't want to get on there. There's a bunch of kids dancing, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
If you're on there for over 2 hours and you see kids dancing, that's because you were watching that. Like, I don't ever. I see educator stuff. I see random funny stuff that's just weird funny stuff, and then I see like sports card stuff because my kids are into sports cards now. So.
And they say it just like it's a constant because I'm not. I get on there like literally occasionally because she's like you will get addicted, which I probably will.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean I can get on Facebook, which I don't get on often, and then you kind of get caught up in it. It's like 20 minutes. Oh my gosh,
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like I try to restrain because I know if I get.
It is, and for sure it's addictive. I mean, like you're saying, depending on, or if you see something somewhat funny, like you're saying, and before you know it, good Lord, I've been watching this thing for 20 minutes.
But they were talking about like it literally gives you that dopamine high, just like crack cocaine.
Right.
It was crazy. I was reading that article. I was like, oh my god!
It just became the most viewed website like a month ago. It passed like YouTube and something else. It's viewed because the apps count as websites. But it's not. You're not wrong that it is very addictive because they put your content in front of your face. It's like you on Netflix. You're like, oh, what are we gonna watch? Or like, oh, where are we gonna go eat?
Right.
It's almost like where are we gonna eat? And then like in the back of your brain, you really want Taco Bell. Taco Bell's in front of you. You know what I mean? Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
And so
how'd that get there?
Oh my goodness, better eat the taco.
That's right. Exactly.
90 mile toss. Oh, it's already on there.
Yeah.
That's kind of how they play it.
Yeah.
Oh man, smart.
So summertime, I guess for you though, it picks up.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's pretty busy. Yeah, I get to work with different schools, and what was it? 2 summers ago was a lot of Zoom calls for it. So, and then now it's just a combination of the two. Even there's conferences that are still doing Zoom. I was talking to one yesterday, and that's cool. Begin to travel, and during the year you don't do as many you don't get to travel as much because people are teaching. Like it's school. Sometimes you'll work with administrators because they can bounce out of class. Or you'll do some online stuff after school. But it slows down. So, but I did get to go like last month. We got to go to Miami and do one, and it was super cool. And it's always fun getting to do it in different places because grew up in Arkansas, live in Arkansas. It's like and it's just cool to be around different people and get to hear their side of education because they're dealing with different like the stuff that we don't even think about. Maybe it's a problem for them or vice versa.
Yeah, or you probably you can take ideas to them from Arkansas or get ideas from them to bring back. So that's pretty cool.
Exactly the best part is learning from these other people. Like I try to. It's so good hearing what they're doing and like their favorite thing that's happening right now, and then trying to implement stuff like that. So I love learning from all these different schools. It's. I'm just being selfish. I go in, I'm like, here I am talking about all this stuff. Here's a bunch of resources, but really, what's your best thing that I can now put into my repertoire? So it's just fun.
Well, and the thing, I guess presenting virtually, that it's super tough for me because I'm 100%, probably more so, ad lib kind of thing. And I don't even know if what I do you could call a presentation, but we like to go out and
you
have
could call it
fun,
that.
you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but there's some adjustment to that piece of it, you know, just going out and doing the virtual piece of it, you know, and having to learn. An old guy like me, 55 here, and having to go back and just get the technology to sync for the first time. It was a little bit on the intimidating side, I guess. So,
Yeah.
but once it, once I got a hold of it, it wasn't near as bad. But I think that's something else that I know you bring to the table with a lot of your Google stuff when you train teachers. You pull them out of that, number one, that fear of, I can't do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a huge focus of mine, because it's like, you talk about my mom being in education. She's not what you'd call tech savvy. And so whenever we talk to her about, hey, I'm going to try this. And she's like, well, I don't want to touch that. I don't want my computer to blow up. I'm like, well, first off, that's not how they work. If they did, they would be used a lot less if it blew up from hitting the wrong key. Different kind of computer. And so just trying it. And that's the thing.
Right.
It's, whenever we're all scared, everybody's scared of stepping out into something that's
Right.
unknown or being
Right.
embarrassed. That's the main thing I see. People don't
Right.
want to be embarrassed. Like
Right.
when you're a teacher, you don't want to stand
Yeah.
up and say something dumb. Or when
Right.
I was a math teacher, when I started teaching Algebra 2, I ain't done Algebra 2 since I was a history major. And I hadn't done Algebra
Yeah.
2 since Algebra 2. And
Right.
so I'm like studying just so like Austin on the front row doesn't,
Right.
that's actually incorrect. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, I'm scared of that. Like these teachers,
Yeah.
same thing. It's like while some won't speak up in a faculty meeting, but
Right.
talk to students all day, it's
Yeah.
stepping out there into something that they're not used to. And, we talk
Yeah.
about me being on YouTube a long time ago. Like me being on screen for 10 years helped me when it came to like Zoom calls and
Sure.
conferences and like, YouTube lives for all the random stuff I've done. Like that's been a skill set that you just got to get comfortable with. And like, staring into a camera is a lot different than looking at an audience,
yeah.
because they ain't talking back. Especially the weirdest one is whenever you're presenting at a conference and you're sitting there and all their, like, you can't see anybody's faces and you're
Right.
just pretty much talking to your slides. I just,
Yeah.
well, sorry, I was really hype about Zoom calls. You're talking to your slides and like yelling at it about something and trying to be hype.
Yeah.
But it's like, you just kind of, it's like a muscle you flex, you get used to it. Like nobody was used to teaching in front of students until they
Right.
stood up and taught in front of
Yeah.
students. And so
Yeah.
it's, I don't know. I think it's just and it is a skill that I genuinely believe we need to teach in students now,
Right.
because it's something that's going to be more and more valuable.
Oh, yeah.
We talk about like different jobs, and you said it earlier about, employers hiring people in different states and different stuff. Like, what is it? Some big New York company was like, hey, you need to move back to New York and come in, or we're not going to pay you New York salaries, because people
Right.
can move to another state, make what
Right.
they're making New York salary, but live off of this,
Right.
cost of living. And so it's something everybody's trying to figure out. But the main thing teachers, I think, can take away from it is allowing their students to, instead of writing a 2-page paper on something, make two TikToks or make a
Right.
TikTok series summarizing that. Because if it's about mastery,
Right.
it's about showing understanding and that you have that and that you have the thought processes versus, the goal of this is to write 2 papers. Like, what's the goal of learning this?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing, I think, at the end of the day is making sure, again, I go back to my real world concept, if you will, is making sure that we're preparing them what that looks like. And we're doing them a huge disservice if we're not doing that. Yep. But I think probably what you said, back to your reference, is, a lot of what I like to do is just that live feed off of the,
it's hard to compete with that. Like you can get used to it, but it's always more fun when you can say something or reference something. Everybody, you can hear people laugh.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
People feed off of that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's so much more fun. And it obviously, I'm not saying it's not binary. It's not this is good, this is bad. It's
Right.
this is better and more
Yeah.
fun for everybody. But this
Right.
is also, you can get something
Yeah.
out of it.
Pros
you
and
know?
cons
Yeah.
to both.
Exactly.
Exactly. So.
But you can wear PJs during one of them, and it's
Yeah.
acceptable. So that one is
Exactly.
nice. You can just wear a polo and
Bonus.
Well,
Yeah.
well,
That is a bonus.
and that's where I've missed the boat. I wish we would have started a reel of just Zoom bloopers, I guess,
yeah.
because we've seen people just doing crazy things.
Oh yeah.
And but to speak to the learning piece, COVID has brought about digital learning, and we had to get pretty pretty creative, pretty quick. But we provided, you know, a K-6 virtual school, and I'll give Candace credit again. Man, this is twice in one day. I got to stop this.
No,
good.
don't
But-
give me
So
credit
good.
for
You're
that.
the best. He told me before I came in, like, she's the best. I don't want to tell her.
Yeah.
She's absolutely
Yeah.
the best. Yeah.
Yeah, you know that's not true.
I was like, why are you being so nice to me
But,
today? Like,
but
this is
yeah.
so
Hey,
unusual.
we've got a huge report due this afternoon.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
But we had to pull it together, and she assembled a great team. But one of the things that we do, and they came up with this one, but every board meeting every month, we do a student of the month, you know, virtually.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about that is we get to see those kids in all their elements before it's time for them. I mean, they'll be on camera, but they're being themselves in the camera until they get recognized. So, I mean, it's been really neat. Some of the
Yeah.
parents have popped in. Some
yeah,
of the kids
we
are just
did. We
being
did have a
kids.
mom that didn't have pants on.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I bet everybody on the other end, screenshot. This is gonna be a meme with my friends for like the
I
next
think
6 weeks.
I didn't even see it. Michael was like, "Oh my gosh!" And
Yeah.
anyway, I think they tilted the camera up
Yeah.
before it
Probably
even
for the best.
noticed.
So
Probably
yeah,
the best.
and but in the height of the Zoom, my wife works at one of the area schools, and they were doing their, I guess their weekly meeting, and you know, they were all real serious, and then her college kid was home for the summer or whatever, and he walks through in his whitey tighties stretching, and I mean, just all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah, it's
you know.
my greatest fear is that
Oh,
my
yeah.
mute and my
Yeah.
video. Oh my goodness, I was in one meeting. We were meeting. It was the college. We were meeting with Blackboard, and we were about to start, and everybody's in there. We're just kind of waiting, and the tech guy jumps on. And then he turns and says something to the guy with him, and he dropped probably 3 curse words in a sentence and a half. And I was like, quick, yo, what's up, man? Hey, I'm just gonna let you know your mic's on. Just giving you a heads up, because we could have just sat there and watched the show. But he's like, oh, thank you so much. You know what I mean? But I was like, if I'm
Yeah.
gonna have somebody's back, I want them to have my back
Yeah.
if it's ever on
Yeah.
accident.
Oh man,
Yeah.
yeah, that's happened to me a couple of
Oh,
times.
it's terrifying. It terrifies me.
Oh yeah. Well, let's talk about your book
Oh
real
my
quick.
gosh.
This
Oh
is
my gosh, here we are.
yeah, but no, I mean,
I'm sorry, I don't
this
know.
is something that rolled out last summer, right?
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And how it came to be and what it's all about.
Yeah, so I was speaking at different schools, different conferences, and I was talking a lot about like trainings. Here's Google stuff. Here's you know how to implement this. Here's this type of schedule. Like I was getting to do all these things, and I was like, I want to have something that's just like me talking about like being able to tell stories
Right.
in education, what I learned from that, what maybe they can learn from that. Start the conversation on essentially culture and how to connect with this generation. And I started and I just made up a title because I say the word baller all the time. And so I was like, how to be a baller teacher. That'll make it stand out because
Right.
I could be like, how to be a super duper teacher, but that's
Yeah.
not something I say. So it's
Right.
like, I want to be, because if I'm talking about being authentic, I need to be
Yeah.
authentic. And
Right.
so,
Right.
I did that and started doing that talk, and it kind of became one of my more popular ones, I guess.
Right.
People don't want really a keynote on how to do Gmail better,
No.
And so
That's right.
it became one of my more popular ones that I would get to do at different things. And then I was like, you know what? I got the idea for the book, and I've got essentially, 9 of them were different topics, slides, things that I would talk about.
Right.
And then, you're trying to build a book. So you're trying to build a cohesive story, but also I was a principal. And so it's hard to like, hey, we're going to read the Da Vinci Code, one chapter
Right.
at a time. Like people are going to read ahead. It's like,
Right.
it's a
Yeah.
one story. So what I did was I made it 18 sections because that's how many weeks are in a semester or every
Right.
other week for a year. And, my idea would be that it is something for teachers to go in these bite-sized chunks and they can like actually implement. So I've even got like at the end of each chapter, it's like, how do we practically apply this? And then they have spots where they fill it in. And I even thought of teachers enough to where at the end of each chapter, I have a TLDR, that's internet for too long didn't read. Because there were meetings I went to, I was supposed to
Right.
read something, and I'm walking across the hall, I'm like, I have no idea what we're talking about. So I literally
Right.
bullet pointed my chapter for
Right.
teachers that didn't read it
Yeah.
before they go into a meeting. So
Right.
the idea would be that like a principal go through it, and it has like different sections on, obviously most of it's on how they can handle their classroom, how they can, connect with their students, how they can grow learning in their classroom. But then I've even got sections because, being a teacher and then, a facilitator and then a principal and then central office, it's like, you always think what the next level deals with and what they do
Right.
until you join the next level. It's like you don't
Right.
know someone's job until you
Right.
have their job.
Yeah.
So like when I was a teacher, I was like, man, being a principal is easy. You just stand in the hallway between classes and wait for emails to come in.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not it. Being a
No.
principal is a fireman. Like you're constantly
Exactly.
putting out fires.
Oh, yeah.
You can't just tell people like come on
Yeah.
the intercoms like, hey everybody, just let you know, I just spent 3 hours talking with parents about a kid that wore a shirt with a cuss word on it. Like, you can't, like
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
something you announce.
Yeah, you
and
don't.
so it's
Right.
like you always assume, but you never know until you
Yep.
get in it. You don't know
Right.
because you don't. It's like I always call it like an umbrella. Like the umbrella is only to a certain point, and then you're like only seeing under a certain thing. It's like the ice. I guess iceberg would be a better analogy,
Yeah.
but you only see a certain part of the iceberg. But there's even sections in there where it's like there's one like we're on the same team. Like we forget because we get so in our lanes and we build such a narrative. And one of the big things that I ran into, in education is like if people don't know, they just make stuff up.
Yeah.
And you would hear like sometimes rumors get to you as an administrator, and you're like, what? No, that's not even a thing. Like, what in the world? Because people just, they don't know. So it's like, okay, well, how can we work on that? Well, admin need to communicate. When decisions are made, when things are rolled out, people see your actions. They don't see your intent. And so it's like reminding people, like, we all want students to get better. We might disagree about how to do that. But that's our ultimate goal. And we all have different viewpoints. And so, I don't know. That's one thing. I try to address a lot for educators. And so it was something I've wanted to do for a while. And I got the chance to finally do it.
What I love is like, because I've talked to you, before. I've watched your presentations, whatever. When you're reading it, it's just so you. I mean, I mean, like you. I can picture you saying the whole. It's just awesome.
What do they call footnotes? They're an issue. It's like I always tell people.
I love the footnotes.
The book is like 40% Tyler, but the footnotes get up to like 65%. Like, and they're like 100%. You never want to go 100% Tyler. Like that's nobody wants that. And it's just like I started writing it, and I was like, oh, I need to make it more like wider audience. I don't need to reference Fresh Prince Bel-Air or Harry Potter or whatever it is, because not everybody's seen it. And then I'm like, you know what? If they want,
they can go
read
look it
Harry
up.
Wong.
Exactly.
There's plenty of teacher books that apply to everybody. And I'm like, what's the one thing I can do is add a little bit of that. And one of the things, it's funny because like in my presentation, I do reference like different things, and I have different like, memes and different photos, like I reference and stories. And it's like I always have one like there's a Milli Vanilli joke, and I'm always like, see, I try to help everybody feel connected to the presentation because it's like I reference all these things, and people that are 25 to 45, they're like, oh, I get that, I grew up with that. And so it's like I know my audience now is like a lot of that generation, but also I try to connect everybody else. So I don't know, something. I've talked about myself too much. How are you guys?
Good.
How are you? You good? Tell me about you.
We're good.
Is this the only one so far on
this
the book?
The only educator book. I've written 4 books. I've got a children's book, and then 2 books that nobody should ever read, and then I got this one.
2 books.
I wrote one book when I was like 20.
Is that the title? 2 books?
No, the first book. No, it should be. The first book title, because I'm so dumb. I was like 24, 25 years old. I wrote a book called Words and Sentences, and people were like, and I thought it'd be funny if people asked what's in it. I'm like, well, words and sentences. And I was like, I literally titled it something that didn't make sense just so that I could make a joke to like 4 people. And so and then I wrote another one called Letters to Famous People, where it's like satire, where like we as a culture have this like infatuation with celebrities, and so it was like me writing love letters, but like some of them kind of making fun of, some of them not. It was me, like I said, I try to be funny. Nobody cared about that. They just want me to talk about education. And so, there was those first 2. They're not that great. And then my children's book I like, but and then this one's the educator one.
Well, good for you. I mean,
awesome. That is awesome.
There's not.
So
anybody can write books.
No, I cannot write a book.
No,
you could.
It'd
be amazing.
So, with young kids like that, how do you have time? I guess is the other thing.
That's a great question. Yeah, because I pretty much what I do is I don't. So after the kids go to bed, I'm working my job. Then I get home. We're Uber drivers for kids for all their stuff.
Yeah.
And then after that, pretty much, I look at that time from like they go to bed at like 8:30. I hang out with my wife as long as she wants to be around me. And then if she's going to watch something or do something, then I view that like 9 to midnight as kind of like I'm going to essentially work a second job and do other things that I need to do. Or if I'm on my lunch break, I'll make a couple TikToks in my car. You make it a priority. And you said, you can waste time on TikTok. I can waste time on TikTok, but it's best when I'm actually making them, And so it's like I just got to be very intentional not to watch it. I like NBA basketball, but I don't ever watch games. But I know everything that's happening because I watch highlight reels. So Instagram clips have been very helpful for me.
Exactly.
And knowing what's going on and the things I care about, but not spending 3 hours every night watching it. So
I like the highlight reels.
The highlight reels are very convenient.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's some players I've never seen miss a shot. It's crazy. I was like, they're 100% on my reel. I've never seen them miss.
Yeah, how they get traded. Yeah,
incredible.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming in today. It's been fun.
Appreciate y'all having me.
And again, more than anything, I appreciate your passion and everything that you bring to every level. Because, like I said, I mean, you check all the boxes: kids, teachers, administrators, and even the curmudgeons that are out there.
That's a good word. That's a triple word score.
Yeah,
that was good.
Exactly.
That was solid.
And they're out there in education,
Oh, yeah.
I can remember one time we, did a thing, kind of a motivational thing, and one of them said, well, if, I've been teaching for 27 years, and if I need help motivating kids, and I'm like, okay, ding, ding,
you go.
So, but anyway, but yeah, I do. I appreciate what you bring to the table.
Thank you.
And I mean, you've helped us out a lot, and we're going to continue to call on you to keep
Yes,
helping.
right.
Appreciate it.
That's
Thank you
right.
guys. I
But-
love having here. Love Dawson.
And at the end of the podcast, we try to get in and just we look for the biggest question we have of the day is what are you listening to in your car? Your playlist.
Yeah.
That's good.
So what do you?
Okay,
What's on
so
the playlist?
so I don't ever listen to music. If I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless I'm working or like checking emails, then I'll put it in the background sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's the only time I listen to music. So do you want to know my music or like what I'm actually listening to in the car?
Hey, what you're listening to?
Or both. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
or both. Yeah, both
So
will work.
background playlists, I usually say, hey Google, play, Mumford and Sons radio. I do. There's a couple rap stations I'm not allowed to say because they
Right.
have cuss words, I'm sure.
Right.
But like I just watched the Kanye documentary, so I did Kanye
Yeah.
for a while in the background. There's a couple of his albums I like, and then
Right.
I'll do Childish Gambino. He's another
Right.
rapper. And then sometimes when I really need to focus, I'll do Explosions in the Sky because it's just like instrumental stuff,
Right.
I don't actually want explosions in the sky, but that's
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'll do in the background. But really, what I listen to is I'm doing audiobooks
Right.
and podcasts
Yeah.
constantly. So audiobooks I'm reading right now. I pretty much read. I'm on I have like a 4 genre rotation. You didn't want this
Right.
much information.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I love books.
Yeah,
I could talk
yeah.
about books
Yeah.
more than anybody wants to talk about
Right.
books. I'm so sorry. So I do a lot of leadership stuff. Read a lot about leadership. I read a lot about race relations, social justice stuff. I read a lot about marketing communication. Like how do you connect with people? Like how
Right.
do you
Yeah.
do that? And then relationships. Like how do I
Right.
build stronger
Yeah.
relationships with people?
Yeah.
So those are my 4 that I just kind of rotate through. And then when I do that for too long and I'm like, I need a story. Like I'll read
Yeah.
a story, a
Yeah.
book that has a story,
Yeah.
but I could jump back into those.
That's
Well,
awesome.
being old radio guy, music is huge in my life. So, I listen to that, driving. I have about an hour, a little over an hour drive both ways. And so it's not bad. I love that part of it. And crank it up. And when Candace calls of a morning, I'll go, oh, she's right in the middle of my favorite song,
Sorry, Kenny G. Hold on
Yeah.
a second.
Yeah. exactly.
You can hit
So,
pause.
yeah.
You
No.
bougie.
And so-
You got all the
and,
bells and whistles.
So, but as far as podcasts, I've gotten into throwing in the old AirPods. That's how I go to sleep at night.
Oh, me too.
Yeah,
I did that too. I did it last night.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did it last
And
night.
I'm like, oh man, where was I? And I'll go back and
Oh, yeah.
listen. And,
I couldn't
so-
even make it. It
Yeah.
takes me like less than 5 minutes to
Oh,
fall
I'm
asleep.
jealous
I
of
wouldn't
that.
even make
Yeah.
it.
That's
on a
good. I fall asleep
podcast.
to the same books. What book do you recommend right now?
Well,
What book you got?
Well, it's not really a book. I'm into a series. It's the it's the gal from Arkansas that's doing it's Helen Back she does these, it's people that have been murdered in Arkansas.
Oh, gosh.
It's true stories. I mean, it's
You
one-
go to
And
sleep.
that's
for
what you
that?
go to
Well-
sleep
well,
to.
Oh, okay.
God.
I think I said we're the same. I got some different.
No. I mean, it's a case that happened in Melbourne.
Okay.
And then there was another one around. I'm trying to think where the other one was. But the most recent one was the young lady in Little Rock, that was out there forever. I can't think of her name now, but West Little Rock. And then so they tied all that up. And then after that, they finally went back and arrested the guy. He had moved from the one in Melbourne. He had moved out of the country and came back. So anyway, that's and actually Beth had kind of got me on that one. So
That's
True
good.
crime.
but yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I
Like
yeah,
right before
yeah.
you go to
Up and
bed.
down.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Something.
Yeah.
I did watch Kurt Warner's American.
Oh, American Underdog.
yeah, I
haven't
hadn't seen
yet.
it. It was good.
It was good? Okay.
Yeah, y'all need to
Cool.
watch it. It was good.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
sweet.
But yeah, musically, I've told everybody about this guy, Teddy Sims. He actually
Sounds
got
familiar.
Yeah, I think he got discovered.
Sims or Swim?
Swims? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I say Sims.
Okay.
It's
Well, that
Swims.
sounds less familiar.
Yeah.
But he got discovered off of YouTube, TikTok. But he's
Yeah.
a bluesy kind of guy. But yeah, he's
Yeah, he's
He's
good.
I have
good.
heard of him actually.
Yeah,
I have.
Darren. I can always count on Darren to introduce us to
well.
people that I, you know.
That's good.
It's funny because Veronica, our business manager over there, she introduces me to a lot of the contemporary black gospel stuff, and then I'll switch her over to country because that's my background.
solid.
And she was so proud the other day. She said, "Man, I really do like that Derek's Bentley." and I looked at Candy. I said, Derek's Bentley.
Derek's brother.
Yeah, I said, Dirk's?
Less known.
She goes,
underground.
I said, well, to give her credit. I mean,
That's
the
solid.
Yeah,
city,
And all,
the
I
city,
can't
they
spell
say
it. I can't spell
Derek.
Dirk. So
Yeah,
and it
I
could
said-
be Derek's, but like
That's what we told her. So I see where you get that.
Yeah.
Derek's Dirk's Arkansas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
fair.
Yeah,
so,
we
so
got
we
it.
gave that to her.
That's good.
But one of the things that I did one day that I'm going to start doing probably more of here is like, when it gets real stiff around here and everybody's, running around like bees.
Oh, yeah.
I put the all call on and I stuck a song on right in the middle of
Good.
all.
Little Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah,
action.
yeah.
I like
And
it.
I mean,
I'm like, don't do that.
yeah,
solid.
they were all like, "What are you doing, man? We've got everything going on." I said,
And poor Darren works with all women.
"I said that's my point. We got to relax."
But then he
breathe a
comes
little
out,
bit."
quit talking about this. I'm like, you don't have to listen.
Okay.
Put your music on. Care about
Put
that.
your earbuds,
Exactly.
put your earbuds
Hey,
in.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yesterday the topic was coloring hair.
Ooh,
Yeah.
let's go.
Exactly.
Hey,
yeah.
we talked about
That-
that already.
That's
Yeah,
better.
exactly.
That's
That's
better.
covered.
Than what the
Yeah,
few
that's
days
true.
before having
exactly.
babies.
Yeah.
La 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 la. Okay.
so good.
Well, man, appreciate you coming in. You've been a heck of a
Yes.
guest, and
Oh,
like
great.
I
Sorry,
say,
microphone.
hey man, just keep up the great work. We
Like, for
appreciate all that you
sure.
do. Yeah,
Thanks,
man,
guys.
you're a champion
awesome.
for education, which rolls right into championing these kids, and they sure need it
Yeah,
today.
thanks.
So
Yep.
we
Love it.
appreciate it very much. And so that's going to wrap it up. Do it for this edition of Spilling the Tea in Studio D.